On a beach, three boys were chasing a dog. They wanted to force the dog to play with them. Luckily, there was another boy who stopped them from hurting and forcing the dog. Then the time setting was 20 years later. There was a man chasing the robbers. The man's name was Igor, who was one of the policemen known for his dedication to his job. Igor was running after the robbers who had taken money from a bank. The robbers wore masks that made Igor couldn't see their faces clearly. They even used a money delivery car to get away and made the money they stole scatter along the road. The robbers soon ran into a problem where they were blocked by a bus at an intersection. They were so desperate to crash the car into the bus that it got stuck in the bus. Igor saw the incident and thought he could stop the car. Igor saw a garbage truck on the side of the road. He quickly drove the garbage truck after the robbers. Igor managed to stop the robbers' car by crashing the garbage truck into their car. Unfortunately, the garbage truck's brakes failed and Igor accidentally destroyed a city street. Igor also almost ran over the people gathered in the city center because the mayor was holding a ceremony to open a new place. Although Igor managed to catch the bank robbers, he was still arrested for destroying the road. After that, Igor was taken to the police station where he worked. Then Igor's superior called him into his office. The other policemen who were Igor's friends saw Igor heading to the chief's office, and they didn't seem surprised. They then one by one put money on the table. It turned out that they were betting on whether Igor would be fired or not. This wasn't the first time Igor had been summoned by Inspector Fyodor because Igor was getting into trouble. Inside, Igor argued with him because it was thanks to Igor that the robbers were caught. Igor also caught a lot of bad guys, and this gave the inspector a good name. But the inspector still wanted to make Igor a deterrent. Igor was finally told to write a letter of resignation in which he wrote down the mistakes he had made. Igor then left the room feeling upset. As he passed by the other policemen, he also saw a pile of money that his friends had bet on. Igor saw it and gave it to the grandfather, who was complaining about the loss of his wallet. As a result, the other policeman could not take the money. Then there was news of a case involving the son of a millionaire. The boy was named Kirill, who allegedly killed an orphanage child by hitting her with his car. During the trial, Kirill often acted in a way that was perceived as dismissive of the brother of the girl Kirill had hit. Igor also attended the trial because he was the one who arrested Kirill. When the trial was over, reporters waited for Kirill to come out of the courtroom. He did not seem to regret his actions. He just laughed and seemed to take the punishment lightly. Igor didn't like the sight of such an arrogant boy. After a long day, Igor returned to his home. Igor's house was messy and unkempt. When he felt hungry, he had nothing but apples in his refrigerator. As a result, Igor just sat down and ate what he could. In the evening, at a tech company, there were a lot of people who wanted to see the launch of a new social media. Then a man named Sergey appeared in front of the audience. He was nervous because he had to make a presentation about the features of his social media. Sergey tried to relax and started his presentation. But in the middle of his presentation, Sergey found out that Kirill had been acquitted for running over a girl from an orphanage. This upset him so much that he decided to leave the presentation room. The reporters and visitors were puzzled by Sergey's behavior and tried to interview him. Fortunately, Sergey's friend named Oleg managed to take him away. When Sergey arrived at his home, Sergey expressed his frustration to Oleg. Sergey felt that injustice was already rampant in his country. He also thought that bad people with money and power would easily get off scot-free. Despite Sergey's wealth and position, Sergey strongly disagreed with this injustice. Oleg, who heard Sergey's concerns, gave a response that relieved Sergey a little. He said he would help Sergey to clear up the injustice. Later that night at the mansion, someone tried to attack Kirill. But unlike ordinary cases, the person who attacked Kirill was a man wearing a costume and a mask. The mysterious person wore a costume used by medics to eliminate the Spanish virus in the 1900s. The costume was known as the Plague Doctor costume. Kirill then tried to escape from the mysterious person's pursuit. He then went to his car. When he was about to escape, the mysterious person then blew up Kirill's car so that Kirill died instantly along with his luxury car. Meanwhile, Igor arrived at Kirill's house from the gate. Igor turned out to have seen everything that happened at Kirill's house, including when the mysterious person burned Kirill's car. It revealed that Igor went to Kirill's house to solve the case of a crash that killed a girl from the orphanage. Before he could meet Kirill, Igor saw that Kirill was burnt to death. Igor Grom, who watched all of this, then thought about how to capture the man who wore the Plague Doctor costume. Igor quietly approached the mysterious man while thinking of a strategy to stop the man. Igor then threw a stone at the man's head, but the mysterious man managed to catch the stone from Igor. He finally realized that Igor was there. Then he fled in a blaze of fire. Igor, who saw this, tried to find his whereabouts, but he found nothing. The next day, at the police station, the police were excited over the attack on Kirill's house. They looked at the sketch of the mask carefully. Then the police finally called Igor back to investigate the case. Igor quickly looked up anything related to the costumed man on social media. Several days passed and Igor was still investigating. Later that evening, Igor was about to head home when he saw a woman in a tunnel being harassed by thugs. Igor saw the woman and quickly beat the thugs up. Igor then rescued the woman and took her to his house. When he arrived at the house, he immediately treated the wound on the woman's leg. While Igor was away, the woman secretly opened Igor's book. She photographed all the information and pictures about Igor's investigation into the Plague Doctor. She quickly turned page after page of Igor's book. The woman apparently planned the whole thing. She hired thugs to harass her so that Igor would save her. Once she was safe, she performed her act at Igor's house and left. Meanwhile, at Sergey's house, he continued to watch the news on social media about the Plague Doctor that was making the rounds. Soon Sergey was surprised to find a man in a Plague Doctor costume standing in front of him. The man then slowly removed his mask. It revealed that the mysterious man in the costume was Oleg, Sergey's best friend. Seeing that Sergey was confused by Oleg, then Oleg said that from that day on he would try to eliminate the injustice that existed in his country. Hearing that, Sergey disagreed with Oleg's actions. Sergey didn't like seeing Oleg repay evil for evil by killing people so easily. Oleg then approached Sergey and said that what he did was worth the bad guys doing. Oleg also said that people with a lot of money and power would definitely not be prosecuted by the state. Oleg was so ambitious and threatened Sergey not to get in his way. After Oleg met Sergey, Oleg carried out his thoughts about the state of his country at that time. Through social media developed by Sergey, Oleg said that he was sick with a plague of injustice. Oleg then introduced himself as the Plague Doctor who would cure the plague of injustice in his country. His thoughts made people agree with what Oleg was doing. Then the Plague Doctor returned to action. He came to a bank and held the owner. He then tied the bank owner to a pole and placed a bomb. Plague Doctor blew up the woman, which caused the bank building to explode. The next day, the police came to the scene. They investigated and went corner by corner to get evidence. But from the beginning, they were convinced that this incident was most likely the actions of the Plague Doctor. Igor was present at the scene. He met with the police chief, who told Igor to find the man behind the Plague Doctor's mask. Igor was accompanied by a trainee police officer. Igor walked away feeling upset. He felt that he had been tasked with protecting the city, but now he had the problem of dealing with someone who wanted to enforce justice in the wrong way. Igor kept walking to get evidence about the Plague Doctor. At the same time, the man who interned at the police gave an interesting idea. He said that to get information about the Plague Doctor, they had to find someone who was related to the tools or weapons used by the Plague Doctor, which was an explosive tool. Igor then met an informant who was also a drug addict. Igor made a deal: if the man could find people connected to the Plague Doctor, then Igor would not arrest him. Igor then met with everyone who was suspected of being connected to the Plague Doctor. However, Igor found no evidence and none of them were actually connected to the Plague Doctor. The next morning, Igor decided to meet Sergey. Igor thought Sergey knew the Plague Doctor because he was using social media created by Sergey. When Igor arrived, Sergey looked quite panicked. They talked about the mysterious man. Igor asked Sergey for help tracking down Plague Doctor's account. but Sergey casually replied that he couldn't just track a user account. Sergey wanted to keep Oleg's identity from being discovered by Igor. Realizing that his meeting with Sergey was not getting the best evidence, Igor decided to return to the police headquarters. When Igor arrived at the police headquarters, he was informed that a woman named Yulia had posted news about Plague Doctor. Yulia was a woman who pretended to be bullied by thugs and stole data from Igor's house. Seeing that, Igor immediately found out about Yulia's whereabouts. Fortunately, Igor easily got information on Yulia's location. A few days later, the Plague Doctor was about to take action one more time. However, he would kill a family in a garbage dump this time. It turned out that the family had a factory that left waste that could endanger the local community. Even the factory produced a very dangerous plague. When he took action, Plague Doctor used social media to broadcast live. The action at that time was so extreme that the public was divided into two. The first group were people who disagreed with Plague Doctor's actions. They thought Plague Doctor was a psychopath who would kill his targets. The second group were people who thought the Plague Doctor was a hero and approved of his actions. This group included people who felt hurt by the injustice committed by the government. Even people who supported the Plague Doctor's actions started selling attributes and accessories worn with the Plague Doctor. Even the attributes were sold freely on social media. After Oleg carried out the act, Sergey sternly warned Oleg to stop killing people so easily. Sergey considered that what Oleg was doing was outrageous because he was making people into people who agreed with his thoughts. Sergey even threatened Oleg by closing the social media he created so that Oleg could no longer lead public opinion. But Oleg casually responded to Sergey's threat. He also threatened Sergey back because Sergey indirectly helped him carry out his actions. Oleg also said that if Oleg was arrested by the police, then Sergey would also be arrested because he helped and hid Oleg. Hearing that, Sergey only agreed to Oleg's wishes and would not reveal the truth to the police. One day, Igor got an opportunity from his friend to attend a party for wealthy people in his country. This would make it easier for Igor to find out about the Plague Doctor. Igor received a luxury car to come to the event. He dressed neatly and made up to look dashing. When he walked in, Igor met Yulia. It turned out that Yulia also wanted to find out about the Plague Doctor. Apart from Igor and Yulia, Sergey was also present at the event. He chatted with a businessman who had a corruption case. Sergey then warned him to stop corruption, but that made him angry with Sergey. At the same time, a group of people barged into the event. They wore costumes and masks like the Plague Doctor. This made the invited guests panic. Then one of the men made a speech about the injustice in the country caused by people who were greedy for power and wealth. Sergey tried to negotiate with them, but they attacked him and he fell down the stairs. Igor wanted to help Sergey and they ended up fighting. Fortunately, the police soon arrived to secure the Plague Doctor's plotters. An upset Igor was made even angrier because Yulia was recording him with her phone. Yulia also asked about the feelings Igor felt in that incident. Igor then broke Yulia's phone without a second thought. Igor was then taken to see the police chief. Igor was deemed to have made a mistake for investigating the Plague Doctor who was undercover at the event. This led to Igor being fired by the police again. Igor felt that the police did not trust his performance. Despite this, Igor was increasingly eager to solve this case. Then Igor chose to go to Yulia's house and give her a new phone because Igor felt guilty. A few days later, Igor got a call from the orphanage where the girl that Kirill had run over was staying. He immediately went to the orphanage, which turned out to be very grand and well equipped. The administrator of the orphanage told him that Sergey was the one who had built it and provided the facilities. Apparently, Sergey used to be a resident of the orphanage. So, Sergey, who felt indebted, made a donation and built facilities at the orphanage. Then the orphanage's administrator took Igor for a walk around the orphanage. Igor eventually discovered that Sergey only had one friend named Oleg. Igor also found a picture similar to the Plague Doctor in Sergey's childhood diary. After Igor got information about Sergey that could serve as evidence for him, he decided to meet with Sergey. Later that evening, when he arrived at Sergey's house, Igor immediately asked about the Plague Doctor's whereabouts. Igor also gave him the childhood diary of Sergei. The diary contained a picture of the plague doctor that Sergei had drawn. Then Igor gave the fact that it turned out that Oleg had died 1 year ago, and this surprised Sergei. At the same time, it was revealed that Oleg, who acted as plague doctor, was just Sergei's imagination. The real plague doctor was Sergei himself. All this time, Sergei had a second personality, and Oleg was just Sergei's imagination. Sergei, who was confused, then beat Igor unconscious. He still didn't realize that he was the plague doctor. This made the good side of Sergei and the evil side of Sergei become one. He finally attached the attributes used by the plague doctor to Igor's body. This was done to frame Igor as the real plague doctor. Sergei even prepared all the evidence the plague doctor had for Igor. Igor was then arrested and put in prison for being the plague doctor. However, Igor's detention didn't last long because there were police who believed that Igor was innocent. Then Igor got help from someone to escape. Igor then wore police clothes to carry out the prison escape. After that, Igor went to Sergei's place to arrest him. Sergei was also assisted by Yulia to carry out Sergei's arrest plan. But Igor told Yulia to keep quiet at first. When they arrived at Sergei's house, Igor beat him up so that he could paralyze Sergei. Unfortunately, Sergei made a video to spread his thoughts to his followers. He invited his followers to express their anger at the government brutally. It wasn't long before the plague doctor's followers did what Sergei said. They even destroyed one of the government buildings. Seeing this, the government immediately sent the military to stop the plague doctor's followers. At Sergei's place, he fought Igor with a device that shoots fire. Igor was initially overwhelmed by Sergei's actions. Luckily, a few moments later, Yulia and Igor's friends came and brought a water hose and sprayed it on Sergei. But Sergei was still strong enough, so Igor needed to get out of the way. Eventually, Igor managed to catch Sergei and tie him to a chair. The police arrived and saw that Igor had captured Sergei. When Igor had completed his mission, he enjoyed his day with Yulia on the rooftop while eating their food.